welcome back to another episode of the Inkwell podcast. My name is Todd Rayner, and let's just get our guest in here, Shane, and let's get going. Shane, how you doing?
Hi. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Yeah, my pleasure. I always like to talk to creatives, and whether it be writers, artists, whoever's out there. Everybody has a different story to tell about how they got into being the creative person that they are. I have a few questions. Just would jump right in here. What inspired you to really pursue creating, your own book?
Uh, like from the beginning, like when I was a kid.
Sure. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, go back as far as you want to go back.
1989. um, so as a kid, I always loved art and drawing,
Hmm.
cartoons, that type of thing. When I was in eighth grade, my cousin came over to my house, and my aunt was going to take us to go see this movie, Batman, the Tim
Hmm.
Burton one, first one that came out. And at that point,
Fantastic.
I, my my vision had changed. That I was a comic book guy,
Yeah.
and I was going to make comic books. So, uh, and then that was, like I said, 1989. And then at one point, I had a friend in college, Larry, who's still my friend.
Hmm.
Um, we did little ashcan comics all throughout school. I went off to graduate school around 2000, and we kind of stopped doing that. But around 2010, we reconnected, and
Hmm.
he had written and drawn like a whole comic book that he was looking to
Nice.
finish.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, well, if he's doing it, I'm gonna do one. So
Yeah.
we went through his files, and he got a story idea, um, and I did the art for that, and that was 2011. And I've been working on different projects. Now I am writing and drawing, doing the art. So
Nice. Yeah. There's few multi-talented artists out there like yourself or even like myself, where we do the writing and the artwork. I think a lot of the early image guys showed us that, like, hey, you can do that. You don't necessarily have to follow the norms, I guess. And you mentioned going to college and grad school. Is that formal training for art, for writing, or anything like that, or was that separate?
uh, for writing, definitely no. I so for when I was in college, I went for art education,
Okay.
um, and then in graduate school, I went for painting. Um,
Mm,
I was my I my idea at the time was that I was going to be a college professor, and I was
okay.
going to teach painting or some sort of drawing or something like that. And by the time I got done with graduate school, I decided that I'm going to do what I really want to do, and
Nice.
that's what I've kind of been focusing on. So,
Nice. Yeah. That's interesting. It's kind of interesting how a lot of college degrees, although they could translate to other areas of life, but
mm,
it's fascinating how when I talk to a lot of creative people, we're not really using our degrees to to the fullest, right?
well,
But it got us
no,
that foot.
I understand what you're saying, and I feel
Yeah.
like that, um, it was much more than like like the teaching certificate, and
Yeah.
art was school was about learning about myself, and
Hmm.
art school definitely kind of
Yeah.
opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah,
So,
my wife went to a fine art school. I went more to a design school, so we kind of have like both worlds there. um, but yeah, and so I mean, you mentioned 2010ish is when you really started doing your own thing. 2011. What has kept you motivated all these years to keep producing, keep working on stuff? Is it just passion, love of the media, or something else?
I mean, it's not money.
It's true that.
So I guess then it would be passion.
Yeah.
This is, I've kind of done things at my own pace, and,
Hmm.
you know, lots of things have happened since 2010.
Hmm.
Uh, married, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, the speed of things has kind of changed a bit, but
Yeah.
um, I feel more focused now than I have in a while.
Nice.
So
Yeah. Yeah, staying focused is super important. I think over years we can kind of go up and down and lose focus on certain things, and life definitely has a way of just kind of taking over sometimes. And it's important for
sure.
us, to always keep our passions in mind. So yeah, that's interesting. What are some of your biggest influences, whether it be comic, film, or any other area?
Um, well, I've always tried not to emulate like
Hmm.
an artist, kind of like copy. I don't know, copy is that's not a good term, but like try to like be like somebody.
Yeah.
And well, someone had said that like style is like a non-existent thing. It's like what you can't prevent.
Okay.
Um, like that's kind of what shows up in your work. I, I mean, I love uh, Mike Mignolia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I like and that style that's like I want to describe as simplistic, but also like
Hmm.
very intricate and it, like difficult at the same time. You know,
Yeah.
something that seems so simple, like that if you would try to do it yourself, you would just get frustrated. But I mean, there's like a great beauty to that type of
Yeah.
work. But does that make sense?
No, Mike's work is just super unique. There's a handful of artists. I mean, kind of in my opinion here, there's a handful of artists that just when you look at it, you know instantly who it is. And I'll bring up Sam Keith, rest in peace, recently passed. But like Sam Keith was another one of those guys that just had something super like unique about his artwork. And Mike's the same way. There's like although two completely different styles, but Mike's work, you're right, it's a little simple, but it has this graphic element to it. It has this like thought out designed style to it that is never been duplicated as far as I know.
Like unapologetically cartoony. Both of those guys, Sam Keith
Yeah.
too. Like like
Yeah.
I like those guys, but I don't want to be those guys. I want to be
Right.
first me.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree.
I
Like
do like my art is very. I have a simple style. I kind of
mhm.
strive for that. I don't use a lot of like black, and I like
Mhm.
outlines, that type of thing. But
Yeah, it's definitely influence is always a fun thing for me to talk to people about because I agree with you. Like, I really don't feel that style is a thing. Like, your art style versus someone else's art style or writing style, it's it just is who you are. It's what you produced. I mean, there's influences that maybe you like to do certain things a certain way, similar to an artist, but overall, it's not necessarily emulating or copying, like that artist.
sure.
uh, doing things for as long as you've been doing them, what do you feel are some of the challenges that you've faced?
Uh, well, I mean, every challenge that I have is like self-implemented. You know, like I set a
Okay.
deadline. Like I'm not working for somebody. I'm working for myself,
Right.
and you know, uh, life
Yeah.
gets in the way of that. And um, I do like to set deadlines and kind of
Hmm.
even if it's loose, like I'm always going to be further ahead than had I not done that. You know,
Right.
I tell like I'm like, oh, I want this done by the end of the year. I know I'm going to be closer than if I was just, you know, doing this, that, and whatever.
And just kind of
So,
going your own way and not really
right.
it, there's a self-discipline, and this is honestly the first time that someone's really talked about self being one of those challenges. I mean, I get a lot of the common themes, like obviously say money is a challenge, or promoting things are can be challenging, but you're right, like being a writer, artist, or any creative person, like being yourself is your worst enemy. And that's cliche, but honestly, you hit the nail on the head. Like that is definitely something that we can sabotage ourselves. And it's really difficult some days to just say no. We're going to spend this time working on something. We need to set time aside to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So do,
tried my best to kind of be aware, and I know like when I'm in like a, I want to say like a flow state, or like if just a
hmm
heavy, like I'm getting a lot of stuff done, like I try my best to like appreciate that and
yeah,
just like be aware of that, you know. Like it's, this is not, um I have a job and I
right.
get back from my job, and then taking care of my kids is my second job, and
Yeah,
then I'm lucky to get to this as like my third job, you know. But like,
yeah.
you, if I do it every day, then I can't beat myself up too much, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely nights and weekend warrior type of stuff. I mean, I've been there as well, and you really try to squeeze that time in. But you also brought up another really interesting point is being able to lost it there for a second. Appreciating when you're being really creative and you're able to get work done. It comes in waves as a creative person. Like you can draw one panel a day, but then the other day you're drawing 2 pages. So it's having that appreciation to kind of step back almost and smell the roses a little bit on that. um as far as like promoting goes, how do you kind of tackle this thing where we have to wear 10 different hats to promote ourselves and try to get the word out?
That I don't. It sucks.
Okay.
um, I have I'm gonna be brutally honest. Like I had a lot of anxiety most of today, just based on the concept that like the issue one came out last
hmm
year, and I think that was, the people that got it. I'm happy for everybody that got it,
hmm
but other than like a handful of like close friends that I've talked to about story ideas and shared them, like
hmm
I have not talked to anybody about this other than like the occasional convention. But like
okay.
the idea of doing a podcast, which I've done before, I was like, I was getting really nervous. Like I have to, talking's not really my thing, and then like talking about comics, like
hmm
I'm definitely like an introverted
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
You know. So they so yeah, no, I struggle with that. Just getting people to notice what you're working
hmm
on, and I think that the book that I've done, like the story ideas that I've had, like I think it's going to be really good.
hmm
I'm not the best at explaining that to somebody, so I don't know. You
Yeah.
have any advice?
Yeah. Well, I think to be fair, like a lot of us have anxiety and struggle with getting out there. I'm the same way. I'm very much an introvert. I work from home, and my wife's like, "You got to get outside this today. Like you have not left the house for a week. It's time to leave." I was like, and I'm like a little kid. I don't wanna. I want to stay home and work and do stuff. So I definitely feel you on that, and you're right. No matter where we live, being in the United States, we have a few conventions that maybe we can do. I tend to open up a little bit more when my passion comes out for my characters and my ideas and my stories when I'm at conventions. And you have your regular people that really like and support your work,
Uh-huh.
but I really struggle with getting the word out on social media and just, if we didn't have the internet, if we didn't have social media, how would we get the word out? We'd have to take ads out in newspapers or TV ads, and it'd be a huge expense. So I think it's bittersweet. I have social media, but it's a love hate relationship. You know, so.
I mean, you know, everybody's convinced themselves that they need it,
hmm
and I get that too. Like, but it's also like purposely convoluted. You
Yeah.
know, so it's like it's time to go scream into the void again, and
hmm
like I'm doing a lot of posts now just for my pre-launch page.
Hmm.
And I feel like almost to the point where like I'm kind of saying the same thing over and over, but like,
Yeah.
how many people are even going to see each? It's not like they're seeing that every other day. They
Right.
might might be lucky that they see it once,
Hmm.
you know. But I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
that's true. I there's a lot of groups out there, but there's also that the social media groups are a void. I'm part of a few Discord group chats, and they're also they can be a void. Like every social media, and it's a lot of the genre of what you're doing. Like, is it a broad genre? Is it more narrow? What's your audience? So
right,
it's definitely a struggle, no matter how we look at it. I mean, for a lot of indie creators, we don't have that big name behind us, so we're not going to get hundreds or albeit even thousands of people interested in something. So we have to work, almost five times harder just to get, five extra people until you build that following. And you're right. The pre-launch page is one of those things where you start to build that following. Inconsistency, I've noticed, does that as well, where you keep producing stuff, people take notice, and they're like, this person's been around for 5, 10 years. They're still producing stuff. It must be good. Let me check this out, right? And then you've kind of made a fan. So,
I mean,
speaking of your,
I do
yeah,
believe there are people out there that are looking for like quality independent work. It's
yes,
like getting it to them. You know, I mean, certainly like going to convention, there are certainly people that don't even read comics,
yeah,
and that is always it's still shocking.
yeah.
But
I honestly,
anyway.
unless it's a small show, I think the majority of people today don't read comics that go to shows, and I think that's what we're struggling with. Uh,
But
but yeah,
even then, I know like uh, my friends back home. I'm originally from West Virginia, and we've talked about
mhm,
this a lot. We do well, like with somebody's first comic book. You
yeah,
know, like if you're there, you get like caught up in the experience of it all, and you're looking to
yeah,
solidify that. Like I've had people come by and they had a like a small convention in Albany. Like a woman came by. Clearly, she wasn't there for comics. She had
right,
brought a brought her kids or something like that.
hmm,
She came by a couple times and looked at it, and I was like, everybody here at one point was not a comic book reader, and then decided to pick one up.
yep, yeah,
So it, like I look for that, or I try my
hmm,
best to look for that. It's
yeah,
like you don't read comics, well, like you know how to read. You could give it, like
yeah,
you could give it a try.
yeah. It's a different. It is definitely, it can be a struggle because it's not like a TV show or a movie. I mean, I would say comics are more like a TV show where individual issues could be individual episodes, but it's just a
Right.
different form of entertainment, and it's catching someone's interest. And I think once you catch them and they're interested and they pick it up and they look at what we're producing, I think there is a lot of people out there that are very much interested in indie comics, because you're not going to get that from larger companies. You're going to get fun, creative stories, something that's really off the wall, maybe something that is more mainstream, but typically you get a lot of like really fun and creative stories. Let's jump into your Kickstarter and, tell us about
Oh,
it,
look.
and let us know.
Okay. So first off, I was told that Kickstarters now have to be number one to the issue that I'm promoting. So like this
Hmm.
is for number two. So I don't know. It's like a trick. Like that. If I just had a Kickstarter for number two,
Yeah.
people would pass by because they didn't have number one. But guess what? I have number one too. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Interesting.
so my book is called "My Name Is Lady." This is the Kickstarter for the second issue. So two
Hmm.
of those covers you see there are cover A, cover B for the story. It's kind of It's about a 29-year-old woman and her 95-year-old grandmother. She moves to back to her hometown, like
Hmm.
to be closer to her family. She moves in with her grandmother and learns some secrets about her grandmother without giving too much away. It is a world where superheroes exist.
Okay.
And um, it's kind of about like adult relationships between families,
Hmm.
aging, loss of identity, those types of things.
Yeah.
But in a superhero way, I guess. I
Okay.
don't know if it's a good term, but I try to stay. I try to stay as vague as I can about it because like
Hmm.
there are secrets that are revealed, but I am saying like this Kickstarter is for issue 2, and I've also produced like if you can go back up where the 4 covers are,
Hmm. Yeah.
3 and 4 are not, it's not 3, it's 2.5, which is a story that I wrote and drew before 1 came out. I know that's
Okay.
confusing, but I I was doing an anthology with friends and I wrote those in 2 parts. A black and white story that was kind of where I could get the feel for the characters, and um, when I started on 1 and then started on 2, I was like, well, I'm going to do this kind of in between. So
Hmm.
2.5 is kind of, you at that point you'll know enough to know what the story's about,
Okay.
uh,
No,
and
interesting.
it's kind of a superhero story.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just looking at this cover for issue 2, it has this like I know we use that term a lot, but it has this retro vibe. It has this like very 60s, 50s, 60s kind of vibe to the character looks, the costumes, like everything just looks. Is that where does it takes place like modern day, or is it something that's where
um,
does?
so I made a conscious decision, and it doesn't really matter. Like it is modern day, but there are flashbacks, and this
Hmm.
is about like kind of the first superhero um, in this universe.
Hmm.
And that goes back to like 1939-ish, kind of in the
Hmm.
same time Superman, Batman, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, what I consider the modern time is 2003. And the reason
Okay.
it's 2003 is because I want there to be technology, but I don't want to draw people like looking at their phones all the time, so
Yeah.
like people
Pre
might
cell
have cell
phone.
phones, but yes, like
Yeah.
fully dived in.
Yeah.
But like
No,
if you need to look up something on a computer, you can still do that too.
yeah, that was that might have been the golden age before smartphones.
Yeah,
I tell you.
I like thinking back, like I kind of did a timeline that was based on now, and actually, like when I started this, it was probably 5, 6 years ago.
Hmm.
But then I was like, well, if I do it like this, yeah, I think I'm gonna every comic I'm gonna do is gonna be 2003. I think.
Yeah. And
On.
is this the main two characters per se, without giving away too much? Like this is main female, main
Okay,
no?
so these are like kind of you know what? I'm gonna just say it. 'Cause,
Okay.
like this is the grandmother,
Hmm.
um, and the grandmother is one of the first, like she's probably the first female superhero
Hmm.
uh, with abilities, um, and that's her husband.
Okay.
Um, so you don't know that at first. You kind of learn as you go by the end of the first issue. But each issue will have like a little flashback that'll kind of catch you up to their career as it
Hmm.
goes, and
Okay.
see, you'll learn about the family, and why does why does the grandmother and the mother not get along, that type of things,
Okay.
so
when you start dealing with family dynamics, I mean, the stories can be endless. Let's just be be honest, good and bad and everything in between. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
And then
Yeah, this
some of
whole
yeah,
no, go ahead.
please. I was going to ask, are some of the other characters within the book main characters, or
Right. So let me see. Like this that's the first let me get my camera right.
You're
That's the
good, yeah.
first issue. And that's kind of like what will be the modern character
Version.
known as
Okay,
Slate without saying too much.
yeah.
Um so there will be like a classic styling, and then also you'll see how that progresses throughout the year and becomes like the modern version, even though it's a
Hmm.
different person at that point. The
Yeah.
other character is Voltage, who is a character I created for a library convention
Nice.
around the same time I'd come up with this idea. So I like wrote her into the story, and I've continued to kind of like go back, and she'll be kind of like never like a main character, but like she shows up in the first issue,
Hmm.
kind of in plain clothes, so that would be more Easter eggy, and she'll have some dealings with the grandmother, and she's heavily in the 2.5
Okay.
issue. So
Yeah, just listening to how you're describing everything, I think, not to make comparisons, but I think it a little bit reminds me of like Watchmen, how you had the mother and daughter and the different costumes and everything. And I think that's an interesting take, to have like the parents involved in a story about like superheroes, and how do you raise a kid if you're a superhero? The whole like Spider-Man and Mary Jane, like if they have a, or Superman and Wonder Woman or whatever, you know what I mean? You could pick like any
right.
couple, if they had a kid and they're superheroes or they have powers. How do you do that? And the dynamics behind that.
Yeah, no, I'm going for a much more like grounded
Hmm.
uh, like telling, almost like like Watchmen is like
Oh, it's crazy.
grandiose, like it's about like
Yeah,
everything, like,
yeah,
and this is going to be about this one family, but like they're going to be a pretty important family in the universe that I've kind of created. So,
nice.
but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
no,
I like you're looking in the right direction, I guess.
yeah, that no,
And
it's like I said, it sounds really cool. I like different stories. I like different ideas. I'm more kind of a superhero guy, and that's what I grew up on. So I lean a little bit that way. But it's always nice to have like unique and refreshing stories, and this definitely feels that way. It definitely feels like something that hasn't really dove into, as far as like either indie comics or even mainstream. There's some out there that are kind of grounded in real life a little bit, but
um,
you seem to be you're pushing that a little bit more. So yeah, that's interesting.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying for. I know that like I had intended this to be 6 issues, kind of like
Okay.
a graphic novel
Yeah.
style. And it might be a little bit more for that, but like when I had come up with the idea with my wife, this was all based on like her and her family, you know, um, her grandmothers.
Hmm.
I'm, I'm losing my point, or like, um, man, I completely forget
That.
what was this in reference to.
Oh no, you
Um,
were just being grounded, and just the storytelling being
oh
kind of more
yeah,
grounded.
right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Um, and are you looking to actually? You're going to be doing kind of 6 issues when it's all said and done, or are you looking to expand
Oh,
on that?
dude, now I know what I was gonna say. Like,
Okay.
I knew the general idea of the story, but I knew how it was gonna end,
Okay.
and that's the part that like I'm hoping that I can get people. interested in to see the ending of it,
Okay.
you know, or the ending of that arc at least,
Right.
you know, um, because I'm dropping things in along as it goes, uh, not to surpass 2 or 2.5, but 3 will kind
Hmm.
of see like a bit of the ending. That'll be kind of like a teaser a little bit.
Okay.
So,
And I mean, the one thing I can, say is like even like my first four issues or first story arc, I did all of it myself. Very similar, are you doing all the coloring and lettering, or you're just doing the writing and art?
I did the coloring for the first one,
Hmm.
and this one I hired somebody to do the coloring. But
Okay.
I did the cover on some of the books. I'm really excited to get started on 3, and I
Yeah.
know how long it would take me to do all the coloring. I was like doing it all over again. So um, that's part of my like kind of what I'm asking for
Right.
Kickstarter, like a little
Yeah.
bit of coloring. I do
No,
like
I
color. I
yeah.
mean, I like it and I don't like it, and it's hard. I you know,
It can
I'm
be a
trying. I
challenge.
feel like
I know for me, it took quite a long time, 10, 11 months to do one issue because I did it all myself. And,
right.
I felt like in a way, kind of, I guess, self imposed, but I felt I was doing a disservice to fans that they liked the book. They were supporting the book at conventions, or, I think issue two is when I
Uh,
first did my crowdfunding campaign, and there was support there. So I was like, I need to find a better way. So after the first story arc, I kind of started sourcing out like artwork or coloring, just to get them done quicker. Just so
sure.
fans can continue to read these stories. So no, that's fascinating. I mean, to be multi-talented, even though it does take us forever to do stuff. Um, a few people out there like yourself can do multiple facets of comic books.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I
work.
mean, when you don't have money to pay anybody,
Yeah.
like you gotta do it yourself. right.
Yeah. You learn on the fly, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. I wish the best of luck for that campaign. I'll be keeping my eye out for it. I know
Thank
it's
you.
it's launching soon, so we'll be out there to support it and help bring awareness to it and do what we can to do that. So,
Sure. No, I appreciate that.
where can people find you, if it be on social media or anywhere else?
Well, I live in upstate New York. Uh, um, so on Instagram, uh, my handle is EMP Comics.
Hmm.
Um, on Facebook, it's Electromagnetic Press.
Hmm.
The website is electromagneticpress.com.
Okay.
TikTok is either EMP Comics, which is Mark, or I believe I'm EMP Comics NY because he stole
Hmm.
my handle from me. But like he's just as good. Uh, or you can just if you go to Kickstarter, you type in Shane Moore.
Hmm.
That'll find you on there too. But
Nice, nice. It's been great talking with you, and feel free to reach out anytime you got something else going on and you want to promote it and talk about it. But
yeah,
until
we'll do.
then, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Nice, and I will see you all guys on the next episode.